Hey guys, welcome. Good to see you. It's been a while. I'm glad everybody could make it to the round table. We're all here to discuss Sideshow's new piece, Batman versus Joker, Eternal Enemies. I'm Anthony Mestes. I project manage this piece.
I'm Daniel Bell. I'm a sculptor.
Martin Canale, sculptor as well.
Bernardo Escobar, painter.
I'm sure the fans are well familiar with all three of you. You guys have been with Sideshow, I think 8 years.
8 years.
Almost 20.
19.
Almost 20?
19, yeah. So
Same as you.
Yeah, thanks. Yep, I'm old as well. So with this piece, obviously there's two characters.
Yeah.
And I know you guys are both huge comic book fans.
Yeah.
How did the decision...
Yeah, it was a fight.
It was like that.
That's what I envision this. This is how...
When the project come up, I say, I want to work on this piece. Tom say, okay, you have the project. You have the chance to work in team with other sculptors. So who you choose to work with you on this piece? Right. So I say, Daniel. Yeah. For sure. They're only character you can choose. So say,
choose wisely.
Yeah. Joker to me.
I'd have to say this is probably one of the most ambitious pieces that Sideshow's done.
Yeah.
What made it so ambitious? What were some of the challenges that you guys had with this piece?
Composition was one of the most challenging parts of this piece because it's two guys fighting, falling down, many things going on around piece. And we wanted to create all these elements without distracting the viewer too much, because the core of the statue is this fighting between these characters.
It's such a action-packed scene.
Yeah.
And you have to get that one moment in time and freeze it. What some people would refer to like bullet time, like what the Matrix had done in the earlier movies, where it's like you freeze, but you want to capture that.
In what moment, what frame you choose
It's an
to do
in-between moment, we call it.
Exactly. The first concept was a 2D view, where the idea was very clear about the situation, but then we start exploring that and adding other elements to create a little more 360 feeling about.
And that's a difficult challenge in its own, because we have like Richard Luong,
exactly,
who did the initial sketch
concept,
and the design, and he does great work, and it works out and it sets the concept.
But
then you guys have to bring it into 3 dimensions. How is it going to look from different angles? And I think with this piece, because of the two figures and everything that's going on, you can't just focus on one view.
No, exactly.
You have to make sure that, if the viewer wants to put it this way, it's got to look good. And once again, it has to look natural and not confusing, which I think you guys definitely accomplished.
Thank you.
We are really happy about
looks
the full
awesome.
Collaboration team.
And speaking of collaborations, we also had a few other artists that helped you guys that weren't able to make it.
For the very beginning, Daniel and Jorge Villar was part of the team, so he helped us to translate what was the concept in 3D sketch to the final for the base, with all the elements, the textures, the details on the broken wood and the floor, the smokes, fires.
Not to interrupt, but the base is just as important as
Exactly. Also, what is part of the story? Some elements there give you some idea what is going on there
to help tell the story.
Yeah.
And you said we had Jorge, and there was
Claudio Abraham.
Claudio
Abraham. He was in charge of the whole holder piece that is going to keep all the extras for the Joker.
Yeah.
So it's not here.
This will be the regular version, right? Regular is
the regular version.
Yeah. We'll have some swap outs that customers will get to see some little extras that we're not necessarily seeing here. That'll come into play.
Not yet.
It'll add some punch to
I see what you did there.
It will.
And now with that, we have Bernie. Speaking of punches, we're gonna bring in Bernie in here, and Bernie was responsible for doing the paint work on this piece. Bernie's a big Batman fan as well, and he's like, I really want to paint
that side of the table.
Because this is a Batman team.
Batman team, Joker team. You need to be there.
And then it gets to once he gets the product, he's like, I don't know why everybody thinks I love Batman. I go, I don't know, maybe 19 years of you saying how much you love Batman comes into play. What were some of the challenges that you had to undertake when you
the whole thing?
I mean, I know the challenges.
We always want to do the forced lighting, and then we do, to give it that, you have the lighting effect, and then you have the shadows, and kind of make it look graphic. But with this piece, since it's 360, it's all enveloping, you really can't do that because the light's going to change in any direction. So we had to get basically give it a graphic look, but kind of more realistic, but still keep even the background stuff. Like, there's so many elements to it and keeping the energy. The background had to be subdued and toned down and desaturated,
It's tricky enough to do the eye line with a single figure because we always want it to, depending on the design or the character, we want it to be engaging with the viewer. Since it's a diorama, the eye lines have to interact with
between
each other.
the characters.
The eye line is what locks them together and engages them into that scene of combat and struggle that's going on.
And that was going back and forth a lot. It would be set,
you don't have to, and then you're not painting it together.
He'd be looking at it and he'd be like, it's off a little bit. I'm like, dude, you're killing me here. Literally, the energy of the piece in real time, like physical, there was energy in just trying to keep it together and having that go, make it work. Yeah, it was
challenging because we want to both characters being looking to each other, but at the same time they will have to show the faces to the viewer.
And I think the natural thing to do is when you have two characters like that engaged, you want to say the Joker's looking straight at Batman and stuff, but then the viewer won't get you don't get that view of the Joker's face and what's going on, so you have to find the twist, so you basically
but that is
twist the head and twist the eye,
but that is also a characteristic about the character. It's more like a twisted
he's not serious,
so needs to be
he's kind of looking away like he's laughing at what's going on, like it's very demented.
That help us to create that things don't look forced.
I think one of the things too is that, just a note to you guys, what you guys accomplished with this is that you have to have that sense of weight. Because it's very easy with a piece like this it looks like they're floating, and that's the last thing you want, because you want it to look like they're falling.
Exactly.
They have weight. Batman has weight on Joker. Joker has weight on the floor. And you have to convey that in a snapshot in a sculpture, which is a challenge on its own. Especially people think that you guys are working side by side, but that's not the case, which is a crazy challenge because if you go back 10 years or whatever it may be when the norm was when you were working in epoxies or clays or anything like it, this would never happen.
No, not at all.
It's kind of reminiscent to how like the music industry is now. A lot of, artists, they're never in the same studio recording a song. They're just getting the music that comes through and they're cutting it in, and at the end of the day, you have an album that works, and it's kind of the same thing that we're able to do with the digital element of, sculpting with ZBrush and whatever, where we're able to, get 4 people, 5 people, work on the same project, and it's like landing an airplane. I mean, it is quite the coordinated effort.
Well, and to that, let's just say that his knowledge with both worlds of being in design and sculpt and paint, so he can relate, because he was, when he was paint lead and, we were collaborating back and forth, it was nice to do that again. This is a quarter scale piece. Usually dioramas, I'm used to doing at 5th scale or smaller. This is 2 quarter scale figures. So it's 2 big pieces. Just having the layers under there and paint, I couldn't, normally we'll put the base together and paint it. This one was, I couldn't paint one thing and do the other. I had to do one first, then the next one, take that out and see where it was going with it.
Underneath certain.
So, with him having a lot of painting experience, it was good to go back and forth. And, he kind of dabbled in there too. He did some stuff.
Little dabbling.
Little.
The composition is so crazy and dynamic. It's going to carry over into production. And I know sometimes people have fears that it's like, what? Look at this thing.
There when we make the production.
And we're definitely, talking with our production guys and making sure that we have the proper metal supports, everything that's going to have to come into play to make this work. But I think that the amazing thing is, because when you guys work digitally, the difference between physical working with clay is finding the center of gravity on that. A lot of times pieces get a little front heavy or whatever it may be, and that becomes an extra challenge in production. And I was surprised when this piece came, I was like, let's see how this works. When Bernardo was working on it and starting to get it together, and we were putting it together, the center of gravity was definitely working to where it has the illusion of that airy kind of tipping on the edge of a cliff type, scenario. But when you have it together and it's physically in hand, you feel it's like, this thing's balanced. The center of gravity is there, which will be very beneficial in production.
Coming from the traditional that I already have,
knowledge.
Knowledge.
Exactly.
In his case,
my case, I just pray.
No, but you have that naturally.
It worked.
Martin, is this going to work?
You have that naturally, so that is something very interesting.
I know earlier you guys had mentioned when we first talked about the piece that there's Easter eggs and some of the things that you intentionally
classic elements like the bar related with with that Dead in the Family comic where Joker makes
There's all the
his
inside.
own things with over.
Yeah. Did we say there's cards?
Oh yeah, there's some cards.
There's
in
some cards in there. Sharp
regular
edge cards, regular cards,
metal cards.
Bernie's favorite cards.
teeth. Aren't there teeth in there?
Yeah, Daniel had mentioned the chattering.
And you have a Morningstar fish
right
here, and some other with a
and
poison and smoke.
And as much as you guys sculpted and considered everything, when it comes to paint, I'm very referenceful. So I considered what a tin fish would look like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So going and finding reference on that too, finding old, I think Japanese tin fish or something like that.
Yeah.
The way they were painted
Japanese
and
toys.
Japanese toys, the weathering and stuff,
and
trying to get it to look right. Just all the fine details that you guys put in. And when I looked at it, I was like,
yeah.
Even the wood, the edge of the...
Bernie always wants a challenge and something new, and then he definitely got a challenge.
And the thing with this though was that also too, I'd paint it a certain way and get it to somewhere, and he'd be like, do a little bit more. I'm like, wow. So basically, go all out. Try not to hold back.
Yeah, I think people kind of take it for granted that paint just happens. And there's just as much, if not more, because
exactly.
Paint could definitely, it could either make a sculpt better
or worse,
or it can make a really good sculpt look not so good, and that's always the challenge. I always say it's the icing on the cake, really. With this piece being so dynamic and two characters fighting, are you Team Joker, you Team Batman?
Yeah.
Who's winning? Can you guys speak on that? Was that intentional to keep the viewer guessing?
I think is no one is winning.
Yeah.
I mean, no one is. They are trying to do. Batman is trying, of course, to
be Batman and Joker to be Joker.
And Joker is being Joker.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing about this piece because I think it portrays that ambiguous relationship that they need to each other.
Exactly.
So it's an eternal enemy.
Chemical reaction, right?
Exactly, just like in the comics. It's an ever-going
I mean, you can see
battle
here
between the
a
two.
knife on the shoes, the detonators, and many other things, the cards already. And he's like, okay,
what's going to happen?
Give me more Batman, I will give you more Joker.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's a game.
For him.
They need each other.
For him, it's like I want to stop this. I want to finish him. And he's, no, not yet.
Yeah.
We still have plenty of time.
Exactly. Just to wrap it up, awesome piece.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
for the entire team, and even
from the one here, from the one not here.
Yep.
The master painter.
Thank you.
Senior painter Bernardo there.
And of course,
project
to you too,
manager,
project manager, you directed, you help us.
Thank you.